When it comes to video games, there are a handful that stand above the rest because of their achievements. Mario, Doom, Pac-Man, Sonic the Hedgehog. These titles pave the way for future developers and heavily influence the landscape of the video game industry. And one game that completely flipped the world upside down is Call of Duty No, God! World of Warcraft. Even though it is just now getting a movie, World of Warcraft has been around since 2004, and the franchise itself is even older than that. It's been a hot topic both in news and pop culture. Critics say it's extremely addicting and unhealthy for people to play. Yet some say it's a great learning tool and has been valuable in teaching gamers social skills, teamwork, and even understanding the intricacies of an active economy. With millions of players, WoW is one of the most successful video games of all time and continues to press forward with new content. But has it gone downhill? After over a decade, has World of Warcraft lost its charm? Why did so many subscribers leave the game these last few years? WoW is currently seeing record lows, and Blizzard no longer shares its reports with the public. That speaks volume, and not in a reassuring kind of way. Some say that Warcraft ruined itself, but there is more to this story than you think, and there are many factors that contribute to this current situation. So let's take a closer look at the nerdy but fascinating world of Warcraft. As with most of my videos, I start with the history of the topic, but for the sake of brevity, I'm going to keep this short. Like, seriously, the origins of WoW could be a separate video of its own, and
I don't have that kind of time.
I recommend this video here if you want a closer look. Link is down below. World of Warcraft was made by a company called Blizzard Entertainment Inc. They were founded in 1991, but were relatively small and unheard of. But in 1994, they finally had a breakthrough with Warcraft, Orcs and Humans. This real-time strategy game, or RTS for short, secured Blizzard financially and was very well received across the gaming world. Critics said it was fun, engaging, and had an interesting storyline. Other popular titles to follow included Diablo in 1996, and StarCraft in 1998. Warcraft itself received multiple RTS sequels, with Warcraft 3 being one of the most successful of the bunch. All of these games were praised by critics and fans alike. Hell, StarCraft became one of the most popular esports in the industry. But in late 2004, Blizzard introduced the world to a game that was unlike anything else. WoW was very different from the previous Warcraft game, since it was a massive multiplayer online role-playing game, and not a real-time strategy game. Instead of building and controlling units from above, you now had a character of your own, one that you named, that you customized and you explored with. You were tossed into a land of fantasy and adventure, where you quested with others to overcome the odds, where you battled with monsters and slayed them for treasure. Perhaps you wanted to join the noble ranks of the Alliance and stand proudly against the evils of Azeroth. Or maybe you prefer the tough and barbaric races of the Horde and desire to rip off the arms of anyone who would dare challenge your orders, knight! Oh. Sorry, got a little nerdy there.
Freak.
Thanks to its predecessors, WoW had a rich story to build on, and it perfectly set the board for this new and ambitious game.
We need help!
Harken Night Reaper! Ho!
I'm out of here.
Now, to be fair, World of Warcraft was not the first MMORPG, but it definitely raised the bar and revolutionized the genre. Seriously, there has not been a game to knock WoW off its throne since it arrived in 2004. Warcraft introduced new and exciting changes that made it more appealing to play. If you died, you didn't lose everything. You just run back to your body and continue on. You could also travel from one corner of the world to the other and not have to put up with loading screens unless you were going into a dungeon or something. When I heard about this, I thought it was unbelievable. Like, I couldn't wrap my head around it. I grew up with the Sega Genesis and the Nintendo 64, so to see a game like this, well, it blew my mind. Oh, and by the way, I totally played this game when I was 17 years old. In 2005.
Oh,
all the wasted years.
So World of Warcraft made a splash that could be cashed in every month, since it required a subscription fee, $15 a month, and that doesn't include the initial cost of the game and the expansions to follow. Speaking of, there are 6 so far: The Burning Crusade in 2007, Wrath of the Lich King in 2008, Cataclysm in 2010, Mist of Pandaria in 2012, Warlords of Draenor in 2014, and Legion coming out later in 2016. Blizzard has made so much money from Warcraft, and is only second to Minecraft when it comes to holding the world record. Of course it's Minecraft! If you want a successful PC game, just toss the word craft into your title. Despite its popularity and financial success, WoW wasn't always welcomed, and many people thought the game was bad. Now, I don't mean, oh, this game is no fun, I don't like how it plays kind of bad. I mean, this game is ruining lives and is a menace to society kind of bad. World of Warcraft has a nickname, and it is World of Warcraft. Why? Because the game had a reputation of being addictive, and there is some validity to that claim. Video game addiction isn't anything new, but Warcraft took it to a new level. It is a game where some people got caught up in their character and invest hundreds of hours in improving it. You want that new armor? Well, you gotta go raid for it, and that can take weeks. You want that sword? Well, say goodbye to your grades and social life. News reports were quite biased and viewed WoW as a game that damaged young people, that it brings out violent tendencies and sucks away the life of its users. Just listen to the tone of these reporters and what they say.
An obsession? Sure, but the question is, does the international addiction to an internet game represent a danger? Maybe, but there is also no indication that anything can slow the explosive growth of the intoxicating game called World of Warcraft. Flash, fantasy, and fixation are the features that contribute to the addiction that millions cannot shake for an online game called World of Warcraft.
When it comes out, man, I'm just gonna non-stop.
Easy there, big guy.
I'm sorry for my girlfriend, because, I'm just gonna keep playing.
Understandable, because gamers climb into a cartoon world of monstrous villains and shapely elfin creatures.
For Greg Straff, playing World of Warcraft has become an obsession, one that has isolated him from riding his bike, playing tennis, and interacting with his friends. All his interaction, he says, is done over this online medieval fantasy game.
I can log on at 3 o'clock when I get home from school and play till 7, and it'll feel like only an hour.
It's really not healthy just to focus on this computer game and not socialize with your friends and not be a little more concerned about your schoolwork.
He knows now is the time to tackle his addiction. It's no longer a game. How many parents do you think will be watching this story tonight and saying, that's me?
I would say a lot.
This is going to be a problem that we're going to be hearing a lot more about.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, big time.
Video games in general have had a pretty bad reputation in the public eye. It has only been recent that geeks and nerds have become more socially accepted, and that is probably due to the shift in consumer technology. But the internet was still growing in the mid-2000s, and the masses were just starting to get online. YouTube wasn't there. Facebook was barely there. We had our edgy MySpace accounts, and that was about it. World of Warcraft was kind of a pioneer in that regard, since it facilitated a place where people across the globe could play and interact. Despite the negative coverage, many people praise World of Warcraft and say it's a great learning tool, that it promotes leadership and teamwork, math skills, economics, and even learning the dangers of disease. I'm not joking! Back in 2005, there was a dungeon that had a boss whose spell was contagious and would debuff a character. Due to a glitch, the characters leaving the raid could share the disease with others, and it began to spread. Bodies littered the streets, and it took time for Blizzard to officially remove the problem. This caught the attention of medical researchers as they studied the events in the game and how it could mirror an actual breakout in the real world. Hell, even the Center of Disease Control asked Blizzard for details and numbers on the situation. Also, Warcraft became a cultural and online sensation, and a fan base grew around it. People would celebrate the game with their art, costumes, and YouTube videos. I mean, let's be honest, who doesn't know Leroy Jenkins?
Oh, it's a lot better than we usually do.
Alright, chums up.
Ready, guys?
Let's do this. Leroy Jenkins!
Oh my god, he just ran in.
Despite the mud that was thrown at it, WoW really did accomplish a lot and has earned its spot in the video game Hall of Fame. Yet after years of service, has World of Warcraft lost its edge? At its height in 2010, Warcraft had nearly 12.5 million subscribers. Today, they have less than half of those numbers. Why is that? What caused this decline in popularity? What ruined the game? It's hard to say. There are a lot of factors at play here, and not all of them are mutually connected or objective. So I will try my best to explain. Number 1. The game is old. There are few titles that have the longevity of World of Warcraft. I understand that there are many games that are timeless, like Mario, but Warcraft continues to introduce new things to its players. It doesn't start over with a reboot. It just changes and adds to what it already has. It's extremely difficult to hold the attention of the mainstream public for that long. Sure, there will be groups of people who stay, but the popularity of Warcraft has kind of faded. People have moved on to other things. Speaking of which, number 2. The genre that is MMORPG has met competition. There are more games today than ever before, and they just keep coming. Minecraft, League of Legends, and many, many more. Also, I feel that Let's Players really don't care about World of Warcraft. They prefer games that are easy to pick up and play. Games that don't require as much commitment. Let's Players also have some decent influence when it comes to the popularity of a game or a genre, and World of Warcraft doesn't get much love from them. This current generation of gamers are more likely to play what is popular, and Warcraft just isn't getting the attention it used to have. Maybe they need to do something drastic to get the spotlight again, something to capture their audience's imagination. Hearthstone! And number 3. The game has changed. Well, duh, right? After over a decade of continued existence, how could Warcraft not change? It needs to in order to compete and stay relevant, right? Yeah, I totally agree. The last thing you want is to have a game that's stagnant, and Blizzard is well aware of that. This is why they include new worlds, dungeons, and adventures with their expansions. And many of their expansions were well received, and some weren't. At all. They sucked. Call me an old fart, but not all change is good, and many players from WoW would agree with me. Remember how I said some of these points were not objective? Well, here we go.
What I personally miss the most about WoW back in the day is how much hype people made in major cities when someone with good gear was around. I remember people even sending whispers and yells for people to come check out someone's gear. It wasn't as easy to get epics or face role places, and when someone did have epic gear, people got excited.
I miss when leveling had some challenge. I miss when pugs didn't disband after a wipe or two. I miss farming for professions. I miss leveling lockpicking. Maxed lockpicking was never needed anyway, so why remove it? I miss the class quests. I miss having things to do at max level, even though I barely raided.
I loved immersing myself in that fantasy world. My wife and I were always talking about the beauty in it. It was the exploring and the adventure in an unknown world full of beauty and mystery, with a little danger mixed in. It was the world itself that I loved, and exploring it. The storyline and questing gave it meaning. It's really hard for me to explain what I miss, even to myself.
I miss the realm communities and the times before CRZ and LFD. Not that I dislike LFD, but it brought too many negatives besides the positives. Yesterday was verbally abused in LFD. Would that happen in the old times? Maybe, but it would have consequences. Now, none. I miss immersion. Now most of things are automated. was in Arruino a raid. People barely ever talked. You can gather 1,000 people in the outside world, but if you don't give them reasons to socialize, they will not. Because the game is not social anymore.
Personally, I lost interest in the game at the beginning of Wrath of the Lich King. I kind of played during this expansion, but nowhere near as much as I did during Burning Crusade. Why is this? Because my guild disbanded. I no longer had anyone to play with, and I did not feel like finding a new group of friends. I dropped in here and there, but decided to wait and try again with the next expansion. I thought, they're changing everything in the old world. Maybe I can start over. Yikes, was I wrong. I really disliked the Cataclysm expansion and was sad that they butchered the old content. Maybe it's the nostalgia talking, but I didn't care for the game from that point on. It wasn't challenging. It took barely any effort to get epic gear, and people did not interact anymore. There used to be a sense of community for a server, but Blizzard decided to combine everything in order to help servers with low populations. I understand the logic, but a uniqueness was lost after that. It didn't feel like a personal realm anymore. Also, everything was done for you. Need a group for a dungeon? Oh, one was automatically found for you. You don't have to do a thing. Need better armor or weapons? Just let your minions do it for you. Why go on a quest when you can just sit in a building all day? Seriously, Blizzard? Do you think your audience would like that? Overall, the game has changed, but I understand why Blizzard made these choices. It needed to make the game easier so new and old players wouldn't feel so overwhelmed. It's not easy leveling from 1 to 100? Whatever the level cap is now. Though the game is no longer interesting to me, it still has over 5 million active players, and I can only assume that they enjoyed the game. One of my friends from work says that he likes the changes they made, that he's been playing since the second expansion and continues to have fun. Some of the older players said that they would return to WoW if Blizzard provided legacy servers for older expansions, but they refuse. As a matter of fact, they actively prevent this and shut down fan-made servers.
You think you do, but you don't.
So in conclusion, is Warcraft dying? I don't think so. Sure, it has lost a lot of its momentum, but it still has over 5 million subscribers. That is more than enough to keep it going. Despite its challenges, controversy, and decline, World of Warcraft is truly an amazing game. Nothing can quite compare to it. WoW has a living community that interacts and engages on a personal level, and it has been doing so since 2004. Before Twitter, before Facebook, before the rise of social media, there was Warcraft. And it was good. Never perfect, but pretty good. For me and many others, it was our first step into the online world, where people from across the globe could talk and team up together. And even though it is slowing down, Blizzard will continue to push forward with Warcraft. That is why we are getting a new movie and expansion in the same year. Will the movie bring Warcraft back to its glory days? I kind of doubt it. But who knows? No one can be certain, but that won't stop Blizzard from trying. There is one thing that I do know. World of Warcraft is one of the most incredible games ever made, and its legacy is far from over. Watch. Overwatch. Get Overwatch!